Hi, I'm Sharaad Kuttan and welcome to Let's Talk, the show that brings you the most important conversations in art, culture and ideas. Today I'm at Rimbun Dahan, this wonderful 14-acre sprawling hacienda owned by architect Hijas Kasturi and his wife Angela. And they've been having a residency program here since 1994. I'm going to be speaking today with Bilqis Hijas, who I believe runs the program now, and also Syed Fakaruddin, who is the artist in residency. He's been here for 6 months, produces extraordinary work. You'll see it all around us as we speak today. So thank you so much, both of you, for being with me. Bilqis, I want to begin with you, and I don't know if I was correct in saying you run the program now.
I'm inheriting it.
You're inheriting it from your mother. And, you know, I must say I have wonderful memories of this space, of this gallery in particular, and the wonderful dinners that used to accompany the opening of events and exhibitions. Tell us a little bit about that history and to put in context Syed's own residency here.
My parents, as you mentioned, started the residency in 1994, and since then we've had several hundred artists coming through our doors. So residencies are usually between 1 month and 3 months, sometimes 6 months, like Syed's. And we used to run residencies for a whole year. So my mother is from Australia, my father is Malaysian, and in the beginning, the emphasis of the residency was trying to create connections between Australia and Malaysia and the arts communities, because also my father went to university in Australia. He got a Colombo scholarship to go to Australia, and so he always felt the need to kind of give back to both communities and also to create connections between both communities. So we started off with that focus. But within the last 10 years, we've shifted a bit more towards Southeast Asian artists and also towards Malaysian artists. And of course, in the last year, we haven't managed to have any international visitors, so we have had just Malaysian artists, which has been a really interesting experience for us as well, to have this whole place filled with just Malaysians, but all doing very different things. So we have writers, we have painters like Syed, we've had sculptors, we've had arts managers, curators, academics as well as performing arts, mostly contemporary dance choreographers, so that's what I've been involved with.
Yeah, and I know you're a dancer and also run the My Dance Alliance.
I was the president of My Dance Alliance, which is an organization supporting dance in Malaysia, and so in conjunction with that, we had a lot of choreographers here, some choreographers from overseas, working with local dancers, making local productions, so that's also been quite exciting.
Wonderful. Yeah. Syed, I mean, this is a very mature residency that you've plugged yourself into, and I remember 20 years ago it was mostly visual artists, and it's sort of really picked up steam and broadened and deepened in many ways. What opportunities are there for artists like yourself in Malaysia in terms of residencies, and apa kelebihan datang ke Rimbun Dahan sebagai seorang artis? Ya.
Bagi saya, residensi ini dia memberikan saya peluang yang baik untuk artis mengembangkan lagi karier dia dan untuk develop lagi idea-idea yang ada dalam Rimbun Dahan ni. Dan bagi saya, untuk artis tu boleh berfikir lagi tenang disebabkan environment di Rimbun Dahan ni dia memberi saya terlampau banyak inspirasi untuk dalam karya saya pada solo kali ini.
Tapi kenapa tidak di Trengganu, tempat asal Syed? Ya, dengan suasana yang begitu tenang dan laut dan sebagainya. Kenapa tidak bekerja di Trengganu?
Sebab di KL ni dia macam center art kan. Kalau di Trengganu tu dia untuk berkarya boleh. Untuk career di KL ni adalah center dia. So saya datang ke KL ni untuk mengembangkan lagi bakat saya untuk pergi lebih jauh.
Yeah, the art market is here in Kuala Lumpur. That is, you cannot deny it lah.
Yeah, betul.
Orang yang ada duit dan akan membeli art
di sini
kan. Bilqis, from your perspective, how do you choose somebody coming into the residency? Are there criteria? Syed is kind of he's young, but he's he's been around for some time, and you've been showing, and you've gotten awards and so on and so forth, right? I mean, I think recently an Emerging Artist Award. So how do you make those choices?
We have an open call for artists, so they put in applications to us. We generally don't take artists who are straight out of art school, so in their early 20s. We don't take artists until they can demonstrate that they have a developed, established artistic career, they have a substantial portfolio that we can look at. Part of what we look for is the portfolio itself, like how much they have managed to achieve so far in their arts career, and the other half is how much we as an institution and a residency can provide to them, and whether they're in a place in their career where they can really take advantage of this residency and that it will really help them to take their practice to another place. And this is partly through their recommendations, and it's also partly through, their applications, but it's also partly through recommendations from other people in the industry that we talk to about their work, and say, look, you know these artists, what do you think? Is this the right time for someone like Syed? Do they need to wait a few years? Are they maybe not as established as we need them to be? And in conversation with those other people, we make these decisions. It can be very, very hard, and I can't say that we are perfect at doing it.
I wonder though, when you came and decided you wanted to do your residency and you were accepted, were you concerned that there would be other people here, orang lain mungkin tak ngam, orang yang personality yang bercanggah dengan anda, atau do you find that working here, you can be isolated, even though there are other people in residency here?
Maksudnya dia...
Sebenarnya, semasa Syed di sini, he has been working at night.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, do you want to describe your daily life at Rimbun Dahan?
Ya, saya berkarya di sini, biasanya kebanyakannya saya bekerja pada waktu malam. Okay. Kadang saya start dalam pukul 6 petang, so saya habis dalam pukul 4, pukul 5 pagi. Sebab siang tu untuk saya rehat.
Okay. Ada berinteraksi dengan orang lain yang ada di sini?
Oh, ada. Saya ada berinteraksi dengan penduduk di sini, dan kadang dengan residensi yang lain, artis-artis residensi yang lain. Saya kadang bercakap, berkongsi pendapat, nak tahu apa yang dia buat.
Okay, so adakah interaksi itu memberi kelebihan dari segi kaedah artis art yang ada, your method, right?
Dia kadang saya berjumpa dengan orang yang lain, dia memberikan saya satu view yang lain untuk kenal lagi artis tu, dan memberikan saya memperbetulkan lagi disiplin saya, apa yang saya dengar daripada mereka ni.
Right. Bilqis, I mean, when I look back at, I don't know your portfolio entirely, but what I could tell, a lot of landscape work. I know you study sculpture, but you consider yourself a multidisciplinary artist, kan? A lot of landscapes, in an almost traditional sense of landscapes, right? This work is extraordinary. It's kind of a break from. Did you expect this to come out of this residency?
I think a lot of critics and collectors have also been quite surprised by the direction that Syed managed to go in with this residency. It's really quite different from some of the work he's been doing before, and yet you can see the connections. You can see this idea of landscape being pulled throughout. And there are some works like that one on the wall which are a little bit darker in their tone and connect more with his existing portfolio, but then there are works like this which are so psychedelic and so like he's used every single color in the palette, which is kind of a totally new departure. But I think when he talks about the inspirations that he has, you can see why he felt that he needed to go in this direction. But I think also what a lot of viewers have been telling us is how much they need this right now, how much they need to see lots and lots of color on the walls, how uplifting it is, how sort of enlivening in this pandemic environment it is to come and see these enormous canvases that have so much energy and so much, and they're not afraid of color.
Yeah.
That's the response we've
Boleh saya
got.
tambah sikit?
Ya,
Okey.
tentu.
Sebenarnya saya datang ke sini tu saya ada buat karya yang siri yang gelap dalam 3 keping tu. Sebenarnya siri yang gelap tu dia masih ekspresi saya tu masih dalam keadaan yang sempit. Masa saya ada di studio di arah Damansara dengan keadaan bising, keadaan sibuk, traffic jam. So dia punya emosi, ekspresi tu dia masih tekanan. Bila saya duduk di Rimbun Dahan, saya dapat residency sini, saya punya view dan saya punya fikiran tu dia terbuka. Dan colourful yang ada tu saya terus ambil semua untuk masukkan ke dalam painting. So sebenarnya saya nak masuk residency ni untuk dapatkan environment yang ada kat Rimbun Dahan ni.
Okey. So yang saya tahu dari katalog Pulau Kapas menjadi ilham kepada karya di sini dan juga kebun Angela kan?
Ya,
kebun Angela. Okey. Tapi bagaimana dengan isu COVID-19 dan pandemik ni kan? Kalau saya nampak ada karya yang nampak macam gambar dalam tubuh kita. Ya, yang boleh can be interpreted almost like virus or something biological kan, bukan saja suasana di luar tapi dalam tubuh kita kan. Bagaimana? Adakah COVID ni ada tekanan juga?
Relate, okey.
Relate. Ya.
Sebenarnya saya buat landscape yang colourful ni sebenarnya kita pun tahu keadaan COVID macam mana dan keadaan kita MCO tu macam mana, tekanan duduk kuarantin kan. So benda tu saya datang ke Rimbun ni untuk melepaskan saya punya emosi, ekspresi, untuk saya tak nak fokus kepada COVID, tak nak fokus kepada kuarantin, saya just nak buat painting dan celebrate apa yang saya ada dalam diri saya dan colour saya yang ada ni.
Okay. We'll take a short break and we'll come back with more on Let's Talk. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm Sharaad Kuttan. I'm with Bilqis Hijas and Syed Fakaruddin. We're at Rimbun Dahan and coming to see a wonderful exhibition by Syed, the product of a 6-month residency here. Bilqis, we've been talking a lot about, the kind of context in which artists work. One of the things that I guess a residency like Rimbun does is it curates a variety of voices and talents, right, in a single space. I mean, what have you seen that coming together really, produce something different?
In terms of collaborations between artists, that's really what the residency set out to do in the beginning. There was a kind of expectation that artists would spend so long living in the same environment and being engaged with each other on a daily basis that they would want to work with each other and create work together. Honestly, that hasn't eventuated. And we've discovered over the years that it's impossible to force artists to work with other artists. If they feel naturally that there's some kind of synergy that's happening and they feel inspired by each other's practices, it does sometimes, honestly quite rarely, just spontaneously happen. But on the whole, the artists are really focused on their individual practices, and we allow them to do that, to have the space to be working on their own. But they are aware of what other people in the space are doing, and we have occasional informal social meetings where we talk about how everyone is doing, and there is that opportunity if they really want to be cross-pollinating each other's work for them to do that. It has happened sometimes in the past.
Syed, adakah Syed kesal tiada artis dari luar negeri, artis dari konteks yang lain dengan pendidikan art yang berbeza dari pendidikan yang saya dapat dari UiTM kan?
Ya, UiTM. Bagi saya agak sedikit kesal sebab tak ada residency daripada luar negara sebab saya fikir sebenarnya kalau ada residency luar negara di sini, saya lagi boleh berkongsi cara dia bekerja, disiplin dia. So mungkin saya boleh career saya tu lebih ke arah lebih baik. So disebabkan COVID ni, saya rasa kali ni pun saya amat bersyukurlah sebab dapat peluang macam ni.
Right. Adakah dari segi pengaruh dari segi idea, dari mana saya dapat pengaruh atau dapat ilham? Bukan saja dari isu Pulau Kapas atau Kebun Angela, tapi dari segi apa yang dibuat di ruang contemporary seni di dunia.
Bagi saya, influence saya ni kebanyakannya daripada pengalaman diri saya. Pengalaman diri saya dan pengalaman daripada environment yang saya ada. So saya akan observe sekeliling saya untuk mendapatkan konsep apa, idea apa untuk saya membuat karya tu. Supaya dan keadaan yang situasi yang keadaan sekarang boleh membuatkan karya tu lebih contemporary, menggunakan bahan yang lebih contemporary. So saya lebih fokus kepada keadaan sekarang.
Right. I mean, dari segi bahan, you're going. These are oil paintings,
Yeah, oil paint.
and for the audience at home, you cannot. But if you're here, smell the art. It is the oils, isn't it? I don't know. It's the linseed oil or the turpentine or all of that. Still, there is so much texture in the work here, and I'm told it's dry on the surface and still lembut dalamnya. Belum kering kan?
Belum kering.
So. Pilihan menggunakan oils di tropics, di mana isu kekeringan kan, susah, kelembat kan, terlalu tinggi di Malaysia kan. So why did you choose oils? Why not acrylic? Because it's popular now.
Okay. Oil ni, saya memilih oil ni sebab karakter oil tu dia lebih, warna dia lebih terang, lebih pure untuk audience melihat yang betul-betul warna yang ada pada oil. Kalau akrilik ni, dia kalau dibiar lama dia akan jadi pudar.
Oh, okay.
I think the oils also gives that slightly shiny nature as well to the top layer.
Dan
which
oil ni dia memberi saya lagi banyak exploration. Macam first layer saya buat, saya dance atas canvas.
Okay.
Saya waktu yang second layer saya paint jadi blur teknik, dan yang second layer, yang third layer ni saya gunakan teknik impasto untuk ketebalan dia, saya carve the oil paint.
Did you say you danced on the canvas? Menari.
Saya menari finger dance.
So untuk itu
untuk
boleh
ini finger
lihat
dance.
latar belakangnya itu.
Kadang saya berguling atas canvas. So saya express my feeling kat situ lah. Emotion.
Well, did you ever witness these?
Because he was working very late at night, we never ever witnessed any of this, and maybe that was why he chose to work late at night, so that none of us would ever see any of these things happening. Because of course you can walk by the studio and look in if you are there, but
sebab saya malu untuk ni, so malam saya buat, so saya bebas.
Okay. So this kebebasan is very interesting. I mean, I wonder to what extent. Bill, because we've had this conversation many times over the years, right, about kind of critical reception of art in Malaysia, the insufficiency of art writing, right? So that level of criticality, is that something programmed into the residency so that artists like Syed get feedback, or you bring people in? And
that's an interesting question. It's not something that we've really considered very much so far. I think the greatest engagement that we have is the artists generally commission someone to write the catalogue essay, and there's definitely that interaction between the essay writer and the artist and the kind of creation of meaning in that context. There are lots of conversations that happen, and actually, usually, as you mentioned, we have a big opening event. We have like 500 people. They're all eating barbecue kambing, and everyone's very happy.
The longest line.
But the trouble with that event is that there's very little time to actually talk about the work. And the nice thing about this extended exhibition, where we don't have a single opening event, is that people come on their own time. Everybody gets a chance to talk to Syed. He's exhausted because he's been on duty like 10 hours a day since the exhibition opened, and he talks to everybody. So you really have a much deeper opportunity to get people's reactions and to really be engaging much more deeply with the art, which has been, to me, an unforeseen outcome of having this format, which we don't usually have.
So Syed, you didn't have a curator, right, for your work?
Yeah.
For the show, you didn't, right?
No.
So would you welcome a curator? Is that something as an artist you would like to have? Or do you find it's an imposition, like somebody is forcing you to have a dialogue you don't want to have? How do you feel personally? Do you just want to be left alone to do your work? Or do you like kind of...
Curator. Bagi saya lebih prefer kepada curator itu sendiri. So, bila ada curator ni, dia lagi mengembangkan lagi idea saya, mengembangkan lagi apa yang saya nak buat. So, kalau untuk sendiri ni, dia lebih, dia macam dia push lagi saya untuk fikir, tapi dia tak mampu untuk fikir yang lebih keluar sikit. Kalau ada curator ni, dia memberi saya berfikiran terbuka sikit sebab berkongsi idea kan.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that because I haven't seen any critical writing or reviews of art, but as an artist, do you look forward to the art review? Di Malaysia, kalau di media massa, kalau ada tulisan tentang seni tu, tulisan tu dalam ada kritikan atau tidak, atau hanya it's descriptive, right? It just says, oh, this artist buat with a biography, macam tu. What is it that you want as an artist from critics and media?
Bagi saya untuk media ni membuat penulisan yang lebih mendalam dan kadang untuk lebih masyarakat mudah faham, dan untuk lagi mengembangkan lagi seni tanah air ni supaya masyarakat ni faham apa yang artis kat Malaysia ni buat. Dia untuk sebenarnya artis ni buat ni untuk negara. Seni ni, kalau ada seni ni dia macam negara tu lebih maju bila ada seni tu.
Right. Tapi mungkin tujuannya tu bercanggah, mendalam, tulisan yang mendalam dan tulisan yang untuk masyarakat faham kan. So sometimes these are diametrically
getting the balance is very difficult, I think. Yeah.
Have you found over the years, Bilqis, sufficient criticism and informed criticism of art in the fine art, especially in Malaysia?
I think it's more developed in fine arts. I think there is definitely a professional sense of writers who write professionally for art, because there are so many exhibitions, there are so many catalogues, and every catalogue has an essay in it. So I think in that way, fine arts is doing better than, say, performing arts in that way, where there are fewer people who are experienced in writing. But I think there is still that tendency to be quite surface about it and not to really dive deeply into much more in-depth interpretations of what the art can mean. Not just what the artist says it means, but what the art can mean for different viewers who are looking at it. And we do miss that opportunity, I think.
Right. Finally, Syed, what's next for you?
Selepas habis solo ni, saya ada bulan 6 ni, Juni saya ada showcase group show. Itu reward daripada saya winner Malaysia Emerging Award. So dia bagi hadiah untuk saya buat group show situ, dan next year Januari saya ada solo show lagi. Itu pun reward daripada MEA Award lah.
Okay.
So it's very busy.
Yeah, looks and congratulations again. Wonderful show. Thank you so much, Bilqis, for joining us on the show. I've been speaking to Syed Fakaruddin. He's the artist behind the show Tindih at Rimbun Dahan Gallery and the Residency, and also Bilqis Hijas, who runs the Residency. That's all I have for you this week on Let's Talk. Come back next week. I'm Sharaad Kuttan, only for Astro AWANI.